I'm Jim Collison, and this is the CliftonStrengths Podcast Season 3, recorded on January 12th, 2024. In this CliftonStrengths podcast series, we'll look at how to feel more energized and motivated at work, one theme at a time. And today's theme is deliberative. If you're listening live, love you have you join us in chat. If you're listening after the fact or you have questions, you can always send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Dr. Jaclynn Robinson is our host today. She works as a senior learning and development consultant and has joined me for season 1 and 2 of the CliftonStrengths podcasts, where we looked at the well-being at work for season 1 and our CliftonStrengths role-based reports, all 3 of them. One theme at a time. And Jaclynn, always great to be with you, and welcome back.
Likewise. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We are talking this season about bringing energy to work and themes. And it's amazing how when you feel better, you bring more energy, right? I think both of us
Yes.
are, right?
We're fired up.
There's something to that, right? Something to that. If you're
There
if
really
you're a
is.
long-time listener of our programs, you'll get that. But let's move on. Today, we're talking about the theme of deliberative. Let's talk about it from an individual perspective first.
Yes.
What are some ways an individual deliberative can feel more energized by focusing on their basic needs?
I think when considering priorities and responsibilities, considering the risks and rewards of taking things on. So, what are the priorities and responsibilities that give you energy? What are those priorities and responsibilities that drain you, but maybe you've held on to them longer than you need to? Is your manager aware of what's giving you energy and what's draining you? So really, it's starting to think about what are the risks to my engagement and well-being if I don't really look at what I have happening on my plate, and then what are the benefits of maybe having conversations with my manager so that I can streamline what I have, and I'm offloading those things that drain me, and I'm keeping those things that give me energy. So it's more or less analyzing your day to day, and that could be one way of looking at it, is the risk reward of what you have.
As high activator, which I think both of us live in that space, you said
Hmm.
something I'd never thought of before, and that's it. Someone with high deliberative getting stuck in the deliberative process, maybe it taking too long. I don't know how that.
Hmm.
I don't even know how that works. I don't know how you get stuck on something for too long, right? But thinking about that from a deliberative perspective, talk a little bit more when we think about how
Yeah.
well, one, do we need to move on? I mean, sometimes it requires long periods of time or lots of thinking or lots of intentionality. It's not always
Hmm.
just thinking. I think intentionality, like when is the right time to do this as well? Like when is in the fullness of time, waiting
Yeah.
for that moment to be right before we move. Talk a little bit more,
Ooh.
if we get stuck, what does that mean when we think about basic needs, and what are some ways we can get off of that
With given
with
someone has
deliberative?
deliberative high.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. Exactly.
I go back to the gut check. You probably have that feeling where work either maybe feels like drudgery, or you feel swamped, or you feel anxious. And when you get stuck in that feeling, then that's a good time to say, what do I have on my plate? Because the risk reward benefits here
Mm,
aren't
yeah,
very balanced. I've
yeah.
taken on too much for whatever reason, and you might have some other themes surrounding it where you've kept some of these things close to heart. Maybe you want to be dependable and reliable, so you've kept a project thinking, well, I don't necessarily like it, but the reward is that I'm maintaining this relationship. Whatever it might be, I think it's helpful to do the gut check, and then to get yourself unstuck is to say, let me weigh risks and rewards.
Yeah.
Is I want to focus more on my well-being and engagement. That's the reward. The risk is, of course, maybe having that tough conversation with my manager, but it would be worth it to free myself and have more of that sense of engagement.
Yeah, I can't even imagine a world where that gets stuck for me because
Mhm.
it's not like I do it. I just eject the idea out
Yeah,
of the out of the
get it out of
ethos.
there.
You're like, we're never gonna come back to
Yeah.
it, so it
You
doesn't
know what,
matter.
I kind of think of it? Um, if we think about even like a sales role, that might be a really easy way too. Sales, you might be aiming towards money or bonus. And it could be, that just a bonus you could get, but it's not a have to have. So maybe you're weighing the risk reward there. Is it better to trade time and have more freedom, where you're not just constantly overworked and working the clock? Is it better to trade time and for money? So you're going to
Hmm.
let the bonus go because your well-being is more important. Sales, it's just kind of easy to think about it from that
Yeah.
perspective, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Love that.
yeah.
Ralph's kind of doing this in chat. I think your other themes around it may give you some clues to think about
Mhm.
how do you get unstuck with that?
Mhm.
What gets you unstuck? What are some other ways as we think about an individual with deliberative they can feel more energized by focusing on their individual strengths and development?
I think finding opportunities individually or even on a team to take the lead on weighing the risks involved or the benefits to pursuing a particular path. I think that enabled them to feel more energized. And it might be, as an example, hey, what challenges might be encountered and what's going to be our contingency plan that we could put in place if we're going to move forward with this particular project? Because then that proactive stance is helping increase productivity before you even hit those obstacles, because you've got that person that's almost serving as an anchor to help you think through that process ahead of time.
Sharpening that axe before we
Oh,
take it to the tree,
yes.
right? I love that
Yes.
example. Maybe overused in some regards, but it is, getting prepared, spending some extra time lining things up. Jaclyn,
Hmm.
it's always amazing to me again, as a high activator, when I do stop and take the time to prepare
Hmm.
all the pieces, how much more enjoyable the task is for me. And so
Yeah.
I've actually tried to lean
That
in a little bit
flow.
maximizer of saying, like, how can I do this task better by slowing down and thinking more about the process and having all the tools ready before I go. Just more
Yeah.
enjoyable that for me, anyways, for me that way. So maybe just for those high and deliberative, leaning into those times as well is maybe think about their own development. How can I use this deliberative talent theme to prep myself to then do action, right? Get
Hmm.
myself ready and then get moving. So, what are some other
Yes.
ways an individual with deliberative can feel more energized by building partnerships, finding purpose within their role?
I think if they promote deep engagement and discussion through question asking or through discussions that require a lot of just collaboration or risk analysis or problem solving. Not only would that provide them with energy, but they really could become that grounding force to the team, where they're working in tandem to say, how do we want to get through this together in light of the goal at hand or in light of our mission or purpose?
Mm, mm. Yeah, I love that. Let's spend some time talking about the manager. And I think this is an
Oh, yeah.
area, right? I think sometimes we reward managers who are tip of the spear, high influencing, always moving forward. But I think there's a lot of value. And so as we think about a manager with high deliberative, how can a manager with it support others and their basic needs?
Developing a plan with the team to mitigate any potential risks that might occur during a project or an initiative outside of those day-to-day responsibilities, and then considering how they're going to address those challenges that could arise in the implementation process. So from an engagement perspective, getting the voice of the team is helping their opinions count, and they're working together to mitigate those risks.
Speaking of the team, we've been asking this question this season: how can a manager with high deliberative help others feel seen, heard, and valued as an individual? I'm
Hmm.
interested in what you've got to say about this because I think this is important.
Yeah, I went towards the one-on-one conversations for this one. So
Yeah.
when conducting those one-on-one meetings with, your respective team members, you could use this strength to listen actively and ask those thoughtful questions about their background, their interests, their goals. So you're taking a more deliberate stance or measure and understanding more about the human behind the work. And then you could always infuse that into your future conversations.
Mm. In the area of trust, as we think about deliberative and as a manager using it for team for trust, where does that
Mhm.
fit in, do you think? How can deliberative be used in a way on a team to continue to foster trust?
They create an environment, honestly, where team members feel comfortable asking questions and seeking clarity. And they can do that in relationship to quality standards and processes. And so when they create that freedom, because the manager themselves with deliberative is going to be thoughtful in their approach and asking questions, they kind of create safety and trust in the room for others to do so. And so what I think about here is, hey, how can when they're consistently emphasizing the planning process or risk assessment, or let's do some data driven decision making here, they're inspiring the team to collaborate with the manager or collaborate with one another to prioritize quality and
Mhm.
production in every aspect of their work. So
Mhm.
their themes alone kind of open up that psychological safety for trust to happen.
Yeah, I think sometimes we
Yeah.
don't think of deliberative as an inspiration or an inspirational theme, right? But
Mhm.
they all can be,
Mhm.
this can be as well. You alluded to it a little bit more, but as we think about inspiring, like I get inspired when I've presented a problem or I'm working with someone and they come
Mhm.
to me and say, "Hey, I've been thinking about I've been spending some time." Key word there, spending some time means something to me. It's valuable because I don't spend any time thinking about anything,
Yeah.
right? So that's cachet that I wouldn't have before, and it's so inspiring to me. I get so inspired when I hear somebody who's been thinking about me or been deliberating, being
Mhm.
deliberative about some things they've been doing, especially in the work, and not just maybe about me, but in the work that we're doing, right? How important do you think it is that manager with that theme, to then be able to talk about that to the team so that they know that time is spent, which I think equals valued, right? I don't know. Does that
Mhm.
any thoughts on that?
I love what you just said. Time is spent, which is valued. It's time is valuable just as much as money is valuable. We always say
Yeah,
time is money, but
yeah,
in this case, time is just as valuable. It's
yeah.
feel free to take the time, maybe necessary within the confines of the deadline, to really think this through and use me as a support system. And I'm here and I'm open and available to help you walk through that process. I think it does alleviate some of the stress or anxiety someone might feel to go, oh, I don't know if I should go talk to that person because,
Mhm.
they want me to act now. But to have that opportunity to kind of take a deep breath and look at the bigger picture, I think is very fruitful for team members
Mhm.
that have a manager with this theme.
Yeah, yeah, love that. Last
Breathing
question.
room.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Yeah.
well, yeah. In in the sense that we're
Mhm.
going into this on purpose, right?
Mhm.
As we think about that team and team collaboration and building community, hey, let's together go in on this on purpose. And
Mhm.
to me, I get super excited about that. But I need to be told that, like from a manager, from my manager. I need to be because it's I need a reminder. Like I need, hey,
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this. I've been deliberating on this to use that word. So last question, how can a manager with deliberative support the growth of each team member then?
In developmental conversations, asking employees to reflect on their performance and then come prepared with their own insights and questions. So going back to giving some breathing room for folks, giving their team members the space to really reflect, put some insights or questions together, and then come into that meeting feeling prepared. And then once in the meeting, the manager with deliberative can offer more of that balanced perspective by discussing both the strengths of the individual and those areas for improvement. I would say as opportunities for action, once they start to really work through the career development plan and what's working and what isn't, maybe encouraging the team member to come up with their own contingency plans in case anything or any challenges arise on their developmental journey in the future could be a key takeaway for that person, for that employee.
I picture the manager superimposing a little bit of their own deliberative in
Hmm.
an area of saying, "Hey, you take some time. You don't have to do this all the time, but I want you to take some time to
Hmm.
take some dedicated time. Break out, cut out don't do this is the hardest for me. I sit down to do things like this, and then
Yeah.
I'm doing about 5 other things at the same time, you know.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of doing some estate planning, and of course I have a whole bunch of docs and a will and all these things to go through. And I, even though I know it's a great idea, I have the hardest time just sitting down, going through and really working through the docs. I need to I maybe need to uh, get some help in that area to carve out some time to be intentional about that. Wrap this
Yeah.
theme up for us, Jaclynn. Final thoughts as we think about deliberative.
Yeah, when I go back to the four needs of followers, trust, stability, hope, and compassion, I think this theme can offer a level of, predictability and breathing room and support that creates trust and psychological safety to ask questions, to take some time and do your homework. And they create stability as well because there is that level of predictability that, hey, this person is going to come in prepared, or this person's going to take a thoughtful approach, this person's done their risk analysis. And so it's helpful for anyone they're leading. And if you're a team member, it's helpful as a team member to know that you're kind of the crutch. You can be the crutch for individuals that are seeking that level of stability, and they need that support system to help them with due diligence.
Hmm.
So that's my final say. By Jove.
I'm just
Can
gonna
you
stand
can
here
you
and
tell I'm
stare
feeling
at you.
quirky? It's a Friday. I know.
It is. I'm just going to stare at you until we get it done. Well, with that, we'll remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we do have available in Gallup Access. Head out to my.gallup.com. You can also go to gallup.com. There's a search bar up there. If you put the theme name in, everything we've done is listed there. It's a quick way, quick reference if you want to get to just the themes and you kind of want to get to the podcasts that we've done. That's a little hack, a little productivity hack for you. Just search the theme. It'll say arrange your theme or deliberative theme in this case. Choose that, and everything we've done is there for you as well. For coaching, master coaching, or if you want to become a Gallup certified strengths coach, we can help you with that. Send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Join us for the 2024 Gallup at Work Summit, which as we record this is 5 or 6 months away, but hopefully you'll be able to join us. Get all the details, gallup@work.com. And if it's after the date, I bet we have another one planned for you as well. Stay up to date with all future webcasts by joining our Facebook or LinkedIn groups. You can find us on any social platform. There we go. By searching Clifton Strengths. If you enjoyed it, hit those like and subscribe buttons. We'd love you to do it. The kids say smash those buttons. And thanks for listening today. If you found it helpful, share it. If you're listening live, stay around for a little bit of mid-show. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.